back, you've already got a drink, eh?
Yeah, but I think I've
Wait for the 90s.
Catafalque guard is traditionally mounted around the coffin to ensure the safety of the body. The reversed arms symbolising that the dead are at peace. Its mounting this morning at this cenotaph meaning empty tomb, symbolises a link with the tens of thousands of New Zealanders buried or commemorated overseas. No mai hare mai whakatau maila.
Left, right, left, right, left, right, left.
"100 years ago, in 1917, ANZAC Day almost did not take place on the second anniversary of the Gallipoli landings. For the 25th of April had already been set aside for municipal elections in many parts of the country. After the war, these sentiments were cast in stone, such as the cenotaph and the Auckland War Memorial Museum, both completed in 1929. It was a decade later that the dawn ceremony of remembrance was introduced by the RSA from Australia for ANZAC Day 1939, on the eve of another world war. The timing of the ceremony recalled the pre-dawn landing at Gallipoli, but it was also a reminder of the dawn stand-tos in the trenches on the Western Front 100 years ago. This dawn ceremony of remembrance remains true to that very first service to honour the memory of the fallen and to recognise those men and women who have served our nation. 75 years ago, in October 1942, New Zealanders were fighting at El Alamein, and what eventually would result in the first German reversal of the North African campaign. The cost is still evident today at El Alamein Cemetery, which with 1,100 New Zealand graves contains the largest number of New Zealanders buried in one cemetery outside New Zealand. Ray Kennedy, a stretcher bearer at El Alamein, recalled to his daughter, "The horror of that night will live forever. For 40 years I tried to forget, never went to the RSA or to the reunion, never talked about it. It was like one had been through hell and survived."
E mihena ke kingi tu hei tia. Me tōna whānau, te kāhui ariki, dire, pai mārire.
Loving God, the cost and horror of those days still haunt us as a nation today. Time has not diminished the crippling effect this war had upon our country and our communities. Tears of grief and loss still flow. Lord, where we stand here now also is sacred ground. This memorial and museum, like monuments and cenotaphs throughout this land, have chiseled into stone the names of young and brave who died in conflict. We acknowledge the sacrifices made by thousands of men and women over intervening years, protecting our security, our freedom and democracy. God, we acknowledge with gratitude our veterans, those on parade and those too frail to attend a public gathering. Lord, they are worthy of your blessing and of our applause. God, as we remember the courage and sacrifice of so many, make us a people zealous for peace, and hasten the day when nation shall not lift up sword against nation. As the sounds of battle fade away and the scars of war heal over, we forever will remember them. And we offer this prayer in the name of the Prince of Priests, Jesus Christ. Amen.
On dawn this day, 102 years ago, the first contingent of New Zealand soldiers landed at ANZAC Cove in Gallipoli. The Gallipoli campaign was to cost 2,221 Kiwis their lives, with another 4,752 wounded, and it never succeeded in the objectives it set. But we commemorate it for many reasons. From the sacrifices of Gallipoli, we developed a strong sense of nationhood. Those who left New Zealand to fight for King, for England, and for empire came home as New Zealanders. Gallipoli also showed that despite the bitter conflict, reconciliation is possible. Mustafa Kemal Ataturk, the Turkish commander at Gallipoli, and later the first president of modern Turkey, gave a moving speech where he said, "You, the mothers who sent their sons from faraway countries, wipe away your tears. Your sons are now in our bosom and are at peace. Having lost their lives in this land, they have become our sons as well." But most of all, Gallipoli is remembered for the endurance and the courage showed by New Zealand soldiers who faced appalling odds and were ready to die rather than let their mates down. Today is a day of remembrance of the 100,000 troops who left New Zealand to fight in World War I. Over 18,000 died and 60,000 were casualties. In a small country of barely 1 million people, scarcely a community or a family was left untouched by this tragedy. It was the war to end all wars, but just 21 years later, New Zealanders were again called on to fight aggression by Nazi Germany and Imperial Japan, and 12,000 more New Zealanders gave their lives. Few other countries suffered casualties of the proportion of their population that New Zealand did in 2 world wars. Since 1945, New Zealanders have served in other conflicts, in Korea, Malaya, Vietnam, Bosnia, East Timor, Afghanistan, Iraq, and elsewhere. They have served with decency, courage, and professionalism. They wore the Kiwi emblem on their shoulders proudly, and it is a pride that we can all share.
I sort of regret the fact that we have, shall we say, closed up shop, but it was something that had to happen because, just like myself, we're getting older every day and we're getting more and more problems with sickness and ill health. My legs are a bit funny. One goes one way and one goes the other sometimes. And this is only going to get worse. So rather than carry on in that line, we decided that it was time we finished up. As far as the smaller branches like Auckland and that are concerned, they will probably carry on for at least another 3, maybe 4 years. But that's probably going to be the limit of it.
전 3월 달에 공식적인 이 참전 용사분들의 그 행사는 마무리가 됐고, 그런 모습이 참 굉장히 이제 연세가 되시니까 참 아쉽네요. 그리고 이제 현재는 이제 일단 공식적인 행사는 이제 참가는 안 하시지만은 그래도 아직까지 우리 한국과의 유대관계, 한국에 있었던 그런 전쟁, 그런 추억 이런 거를 생각하시면서 좀 건강하게 사는 모습 보시니까 참 좋습니다. 더불어서 한국이 좀 이분들의 예전의 어떤 그런 역량으로 인해서 한국이 좀 더 발전하는 이런 모습을 더 보여줬으면 하는데 그런 바람이 좀 있습니다.